Good morning, Chair,
Good morning.
board members, members of the public. We have three members of the public wishing to provide public comment today, so we'll proceed with them before we proceed with our regular calendars. The first speaker will be Mr. Robert Zabel. Okay. I remind every member of the public wishing to provide comment, you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, my board members. My name is
morning.
Robert Ziegler, and I'm here. Thank you. I'm here to wish you happy holidays, all the best, and happy New Year's and everything else to begin with.
Thank you.
I congratulate you for surviving past year without any major crisis, which surprised me, and hope that the next year will be as good as was the last one. I have no complaints, at least we'll have the whole year to lodge any complaints that we might have before the board. I'm here, have only two questions. One is regarding we're paying NYCHA, NYCHA is paying a CUNY University for doing some services which they've been doing for quite some time. I'm not exactly sure if I understand what are they doing for the NYCHA and how effective is it. Second thing is there's a curious item about the audit of energy and so forth, which you're going to spend $4.5 million for next 5 years, $4.5 million a year. I'm old enough to remember the Big Five auditing firm of Anderson that was caught in fraud and disbanded. It was quite a few years ago. So I'm not exactly sure what it takes to audit energy needs for the NYCHA and spend $4.5 million. It probably can be done once and be done with it. I'm not exactly sure why we need to spend $4.5 million. It looks like a lot of wasted good money. So if NYCHA can look into it, the board can look into it, or at least answer my question regarding CUNY and this auditing of energy needs. Thank you, and wish you the best holidays ever.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Lisa Kenner. I'm sorry.
Good morning. I got here on time. My name is Lisa Kenner. I'm the president of Van Dyke Resident Association. First of all, I want to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and all that good stuff. And next year be better for all of us. But this holiday season, numerous residents at Van Dyke houses' living conditions will not be easy. And the reason why I said that is because I was looking at on the number 10, external restoration. Hopefully Van Dyke will be one of those people that get part of that $18 million work done, because I have numerous residents' bathrooms, and I brought pictures. It's in black and white, but I can send it to you in color, that they bathroom from the 10th floor down to the first floor is leaks, and it's been neglected. In the D apartment at 419 Blake Avenue, and also in 3A and 419 Blake Avenue. Lady don't even have no light in her bathroom. I'm just saying that here, I see the manager office is being renovated with a new bathroom for the residents when they come into the area and to the management part. But yet residents got to live with mold. The paint is cracking. Nobody has tub closures. My thing is, if you have a tub, if people need a tub tub closure should have been provided before you did a bathroom in the management office. Because people have to live in their apartment. People don't live in the management office. That's at 8:30, 4:30, you're gone. I think it was presentable, but I just want to know that part of that $18 million that the board would decide to do something for Van Dyke houses for a change. Also, the boilers. We've been cold last year. No, okay, this year is not cold yet, but last year we've been cold. It's not regulated. You can't keep on spending $10,000 to fix up a boiler. Just go and buy a new boiler. I know it's easy said than done, but $10,000, then it break down the next year. That's another $10,000 and keep going on and on. They need to look and see how long we had this boilers. Now, what I can recollect that 15 years, maybe 20 years ago, that one boiler was changed. We had 5 boilers because one boiler serviced the senior citizen building at 430 Dumont. Now, some people have heat and it'd be so hot, then it'd be people that don't have heat and it'd be so cold. And this is how people get sick. But one thing you have to do is we're going to be living all right, but some people apartments live horrible. I had people have mold, they got children, that affects them with asthma. And I have pictures to show you that the bathroom that's going to be in the managers look so glorified, because people come to me and say, Lisa, why are they bathroom like this? My bathroom looking like this. I'm just asking, please, with that $18 million, come and look at Van Dyke bathroom, the kitchen, the hallway, and things like that. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kenner. Our last speaker will be Reverend Bernadette Logan.
I've seen it. Good morning. Good morning, board members and Shola. First, I'd like to say Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas and Happy Kwanzaa to everyone. Also, I didn't get a chance to come last month to publicly thank you. I got my home. We got our home. And I'm just, this Christmas, I'm just celebrating with joy. I really want to thank all of you for your time and your efforts and putting up with me for 5 years. But anyway, I'm just so grateful for that. I come before you on regard to the annual plan, items 3 and 4. I submitted to Catherine Gray about 3 years ago. First of all, I represent the president of the Queens FHA Residents Association, and I also represent the executive director of New Beginnings Outreach, which is the organization that helped begin and launch off the project with the housing. I'm looking at these items because I submitted a proposal to Catherine to inquire on obtaining some vacant homes. And our organization would like to revitalize and revamp our community. Also, there are 2 incentives in the mayor's office that just came out. The first one is to help the homeless community. He's offered the worship centers, worship home, worship churches, and also community-based organizations to start taking in these homeless people. So I'm interested in obtaining 10 vacant homes for my organization. And also the mayor's office is also opening up an initiative for affordable housing projects for clergy and nonprofits to gather together. So those are the 2 incentives that I'm embarking on. So I'm coming to you because I've already looked at all of these houses in the last 5 years. And I'd like to submit a proposal to the board to obtain 10 of these vacant homes with my organization and be able to renovate, revitalize my community. So that's my question. Also, the annual report states listing all these houses. They're going to be demolished. And they said there's a plan in place. I don't see the plan. So I'd like to know what the plan is. And then I can submit a proposal next month and begin my second journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, that concludes our public comments portion, and we may proceed with the regular calendar by adopt a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular meeting from Wednesday, November 18, 2015.
My motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Now we may proceed with the chair's report.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good
morning. So first we start with some changes here at on our board. I have regretfully accepted the resignation of board member Richard Barron. As many of you know, the mayor appointed Richard really at the same time that I started, actually, I think, really to support our transition and the process of developing Next Generation NYCHA and really tapping his significant national and international experience in the field of affordable housing and public housing transformation. I think my fellow commissioners and I would agree, board members and I would agree that he's been a constant source of information and support. He's been a personal thought partner with me. And so on behalf of the entire board and staff, we want to thank you for your service. And as I said, Richard's not going far. We will still see him and certainly continue to benefit from the work that he and his colleagues do around the country, really leading a path for how to ensure that public housing remain a resource for America. And so with that resignation officially today, but we are pleased to also announce the joining of a new board member, Ms. Zaire Dince Flores. Ms. Dince Flores is a scholar of housing policy and design, urban planning, and community issues of inequality. Dr. Dince Flores is currently an associate professor of sociology and Latino and Hispanic Caribbean studies at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey, where she teaches courses on urbanism and social inequality. She's lectured and written extensively on the topic, including publishing an award-winning book titled Locked In, Locked Out, Gated Communities in a Puerto Rican City, looking at residential neighborhoods and public housing in Puerto Rico, the second largest housing authority in the United States. Prior to her academic appointment, Dr. Dince Flores was a Mellon postdoctoral fellow of race, crime, and justice at the Vera Institute of Justice. She's conducted research on social and public policy at the Vera Institute, the World Bank, and the Inter-American Development Bank. We are incredibly pleased, and I am personally pleased that she said yes and to join us in the endeavor of ensuring public housing is around for another generation. So we welcome Dr. Dince Flores to the NYCHA board. And so, thank you. We are going to, it's fitting that it's December, and this has been a tremendous year of change for the Housing Authority, a lot of accomplishments, as well as some very real challenges that we will continue to address in 2016. And we thought, instead of me talking for 40 minutes, we just show a recap of a staff video, employee video message that we sent out earlier this week. And with that, Mariela. 2015 has been a year of tremendous change for NYCHA. Last spring, we launched Next Generation NYCHA, our 10-year strategic plan to fundamentally change how we do business. With unprecedented support from across the city, we focused on getting our financial house in order to improve NYCHA for today's residents and future generations. It's taken considerable work, but thanks to your efforts, we've moved the authority forward. We've made meaningful changes to how we approach maintenance and repairs with Fix It Forward, by focusing on improving service levels with common sense changes in our procedures. We also launched the My NYCHA app, which has been downloaded 15,000 times, allowing residents to schedule repair appointments from the convenience of their phones. And with lots of hard work, all 18 of our OpMom sites are meeting their goals to address emergency repairs on time and on budget. In 2015, we also focused on improving safety at our developments. In addition to enhancing communications between NYCHA and NYPD, we've started the installation of new exterior lighting at 17 developments and installed new camera technology at over 30 developments. For too long, NYCHA was forced to put off major roof repairs because of a lack of money. This year, we got to work with a $300 million investment from the city. Just within the last week, we started construction on 10 roofs at Queensbridge. After 3 years and many rounds of negotiating, we secured $3 billion in federal disaster recovery funds from FEMA to begin the real recovery from Hurricane Sandy. We've put 4 contracts out and shovels in the ground at 17 developments. As part of President Obama's effort to end veteran homelessness, our leased housing department provided rental subsidies to 387 formerly homeless veterans this year, bringing the total number of veterans families served by NYCHA to 2,488. This year, we've made significant progress resetting our relationships with our residents. In addition to creating 7 new tenant associations and 4 new youth councils, community programs and development worked hard to engage the residents of Holmes and Wyckoff as part of NYCHA Neighborhoods, the initiative that will build new housing, half affordable and half market rate, to expand affordable housing options and generate much needed revenue for major repairs to our existing buildings. This is an amazing list of accomplishments. I am deeply grateful for your hard work. I also want to note that our work is far from done. Our service levels remain persistently high and rent collection too low at certain developments. 200 employees are out every day due to workplace injuries. Our developments are still not as clean as they should be, and despite concentrated efforts, only 60% of you communicate with your NYCHA colleagues using email. How do we address these long-standing and unresolved issues in the new year? I offer up this challenge, a call to action. How can all of us make NYCHA the best it can be? A place that better serves staff and residents in 2016. What difference can you make in helping our developments become safer, cleaner, and more connected in 2016? I've accepted the challenge, and I hope you will join me, because we can't do it without you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So as always, all of this information is available on our website. And as we indicated earlier this year, we will be producing the first quarterly report as part of Next Generation NYCHA in the early part of January. As soon as this year closes out, that really goes into detail on some of our specific, someone could hit the light. Oh, no, I still have this, right? No.
Yes.
As we review some of the specific details of our work in the fourth quarter of 2015. So with that, I thought I want to sort of frame some of the issues that caught a lot of attention over the last week and use it as an opportunity to make sure that the board hears not only NYCHA's position, but also some additional context. So a major issue that, as outlined in the video that we've been working on, is the improvement of safety at our developments, and specifically around a particular policy known as permanent exclusion. I think it's important to note that permanent exclusion actually is a way to save tenancy. It is really about ensuring that the potential bad actor or alleged bad actor is removed from the apartment and that the tenancy of the family or household is preserved. And so in order to ensure that we are moving with speed and working on good information, we've really recommitted ourselves to working very closely with NYPD around communication and coordination, around sort of potential bad actors in our development. So a couple of things that we have been working on really in the last less than 30 days, but with some really good progress, is that the agencies, NYPD and NYCHA, are working to create a centralized database that flags for both agencies alleged or convicted criminals that we could prioritize for some form of tenancy action, whether that be eviction or permanent exclusion. So really just making sure that we are working with good and solid information. The second thing is to make sure that we are also putting both of our agency resources towards those individuals who present the most imminent risk, those sort of high risk individuals to life and public safety. So really sort of flagging for us within what is unfortunately a pretty large number, those individuals that represent issues around violent crime, guns, and other sex offenses, et cetera. And PD is really working to refine what that criteria might include. And then another major commitment, which is really being led by our general counsel and team, is expediting the time that it takes from when we do receive the information from PD to actually begin a case. Historically, this could take anywhere from a month to a year. And we've now made a commitment through some streamlined processes and reorganized staffing resources that when we receive this information from PD, we will begin acting on it within a week of receipt of that information. So some major process changes, but also I think a recommitment to the policy goals of ensuring that those people who should not, who have violated our tenancy rules are either excluded or evicted from the housing authority, and then making sure that that information is given to the appropriate enforcement authorities to act upon accordingly. So more to come on that. We'll make sure that this is something that we provide regular updates to members of the board and public. Another sort of ongoing challenge for us is, as you know, we are in court, federal court, around the issue of mold. We know that this is unfortunately a reality of buildings that are on average 60 years old, and something that can only truly be addressed when we go after the root cause, which is the sort of the infrastructure in our buildings. I think we heard that from some of the public comments earlier. And so while we can remain committed and actually have been meeting, per the judge's own words, our commitment to address simple mold cases within 7 days and more complex mold issues within 15 days, the judge has decided to appoint a special master to oversee this issue with us. And so we await what that looks like. We'll learn more in court following on January 12th. But I think what we have made a commitment to, along certainly with the mayor's support, is trying to go after the root issue. And so, as I mentioned, we've started replacing roofs and other critical infrastructure in our buildings with the mayor's $300 million. So there's a tremendous amount of work happening in the developments, but we know it is truly a down payment and that the need is so much greater. And so that remains a major challenge that all of us will be working on together. Another issue that caught attention was I think sort of an unfortunate email that sort of made headlines around heat. And it's sort of amazing that, in a season where it's 70 degrees outside today, we're having a heating crisis. But I think just in all seriousness, I think, and we won't comment on the specifics of any potential legal action, but I think the difference here is what is law and our contention that we are in adherence of the New York City law that requires that residential landlords maintain an indoor temperature of 55 degrees, and building science, which is buildings and particularly buildings with infrastructure as old as ours, and when that infrastructure comes on or off. Our policy is that our furnaces, et cetera, turn on when the outside temperature is below 40 degrees. That is the policy. Our buildings, as old as they are, actually do hold heat. And frankly, we would be in even worse shape if we went around shutting off and on 60-year-old boilers. And so I think it's important to understand law and policy, and we feel confident that when that information is looked at, that we will be that those two things will be clear. But we just wanted to make sure you all understood and heard that the existing standing long-term policy of how we manage that in GM. If I'm missing anything, please jump in. Okay. And then, because it's always interesting at NYCHA, the other another headline that I actually took particular issue with, because I think it was somewhat sensationalized and I think unnecessarily frightened residents, was a report issued by Councilman Torres and State Senator Klein about the alleged huge numbers of registered sex offenders that were living within public housing. The reality is that the list that they published in their report, more than 2/3 of those people actually did not live in NYCHA, and that the remaining numbers we had already begun permanent exclusion activity on. And so this is, again, I think, one area where facts are really important, particularly when you're talking about something as potentially scary and headline grabbing as this. But what we will say is that, again, I think in this new renewed sense of collaboration and coordination with NYPD, these kinds of cases would be flagged early on for us, and any tenancy action would begin within a week of receiving that information. There are also some other issues around actually receiving this information, not only from NYPD, but from the state Department of Criminal Parole, or whatever their new name is. And so we're working really closely to try and get that information. And actually, I think would call on both the councilman and the state senator to help us make sure that we get that information, because they're actually required to give it to us by law, and they have not done it. So other issues, and last issue, I think, actually a couple more issues, and one that we actually have done, I think, a tremendous amount of work in following the events of Hurricane Sandy, is our work around emergency preparedness. I think we would all admit and state that the city was, or the region was, caught unawares by the ferocious Hurricane Sandy, but as an agency, we were also not as prepared as we could have been. A tremendous amount of work has happened since that time, including establishing an Office of Emergency Preparedness, actually developing an agency-wide emergency plan, and our revamped and new emergency policies and procedures. And I think when you look at all of those things, particularly in the face of the various emergencies that we've had since Hurricane Sandy, Ebola, Juno, which was a major snowstorm, the Pope's visit, Hurricane Joaquin, lots of other things, and where NYCHA was really a leader and really at the table with other city agencies. So I think it was pretty clear that the data that was used in that audit was old, and that it did not reflect the reality of our current business practices. So this is an area that we remain incredibly focused on, and continue to improve and ensure that the safety of our residents is the utmost priority. I think that's it. And there are many issues like this that I think are obviously covered on a daily basis. As you know, we are in the midst of major organizational change focused on all of these things. But I think it's really important that we be grounded in facts as commissioners, so that we understand both not only how to respond, but also the reality of the men and women who will work hard every day to make sure that we do try and provide and live up to our mission. And we know we have a lot of work to do, but there is a lot of good that is also happening. So I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any, or comments.
Just a comment. I wanted to commend the GM and his team with regards to that gas outage in the Upper West Side. It it turned out to be something that surprised everyone, but in a good way, because now they can actually enjoy the holiday season
Absolutely.
with cooking and eating, and it helped a lot. So thank you very much for that and the expediency in which you put it through.
Thank you, Board Member. But I also want to recognize the work of our former Vice Chair, Kyle Kimmel, who's currently serving in an important role at Con Edison, that with his intervention, we were able to work in partnership with Con Ed to get that done. But thank you for the recognition.
I'll only make one comment, and that is about the undesirables who live in public housing. At one point in time, we had in the NYCHA newspaper a list of all of the developments and those people who were to be excluded or were not allowed on the premises. I see them walking around in my neighborhood all the time. So we would like, and I understand it's going to happen, that list is going to be reinstated in the NYCHA newspaper so that residents can know in their developments who should not be there. And when they see them, they can notify the authorities to that effect. I think it will be helpful.
So one of the first things that our general counsel and I looked at when he started was that list, and we actually stopped it because we believed that it was random and it really didn't provide the kind of information. It wasn't particularly strategic, and so I think it's important to see it as part of an entire program and effort, not just one piece. And I just also want to be clear, I don't think we've made any commitments or public statements about it being in the NYCHA newsletter or otherwise. We're still thinking about what form that takes. But we understand that it's also that it is one piece of information. I think it's also important to note that permanent exclusion is only to the apartment, not the premises. So that is just, I think, an important fact that we all know. There may be other issues that surround someone who's permanently excluded. They could have a trespass notice and other things, but in terms of permanent exclusion, it is actually specific to the unit, not to the development. So we will share more information as we and PD refine what and how that list is shared and used going forward.
Just one more comment about the heating situation. We had inordinate heat days, 67 degrees. The apartments had heat kicking out. When the temperature dropped down low, the heat was off. So whatever system that they have is not regulated. And also with the new boilers that we have, the temporary boilers, I don't think you can regulate the temperature to 40 degrees or 50 degrees. You're going to get excessive heat, and then you open your windows, or you're going to get not enough heat, and you put on your extra heater that you may have in your apartment. So we need to look at some way of regulating the temperatures in the apartments. And I can tell you personally, it impacted me. I was sick this last month, and I think that the heating and being too excessive and not enough is what contributed to it.
Great. Got it.
Can I add to that, please?
Yes.
I think I had spoken to Mr. Ponce with regards to the sensors that we have. That's just one of the issues that might be causing it, but he is going to get back to me with regards to the sensors themselves. And how well are they working and not, if they're impacted by the weather or not. But that's one of the issues that will be resolved.
Absolutely. Well, I think with all of these questions, and I know that we have an incredibly long calendar today,
Okay.
I would actually propose that for a future meeting, we talk about heat and both the existing policies as well as some of the challenges that we have in those developments. I think it's a good point that you mentioned, where we have temporary boilers, as well as what we expect with some of the new Sandy investments and some of the authority-wide investments that we're making. So
Okay.
to be continued.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, I also just a quick note of clarification. It's important that our board member, his resignation is effective at the end of business today. So you are still official, so that we can have a quorum and be in compliance with all of that. Okay, with that,
We'll
let's
move to the GM's report.
move to the GM's report. Exactly, it's right here.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody,
Morning.
Morning.
and happy holidays. I'm going to be reporting on the November data from the operations of the agency, some selected key performance indicators, and also be talking a little bit about a brand new NYCHA development portal with presentation assistance from Bob Morano, our Executive Vice President for Information Technology. Also, Chair, I think we'll be looking at the year-end report. This is November data for today. We're going to be looking at December data for next month. So actually, at that point, give a pretty good indication of how we were doing for the course of 2015, as well as talk about some operational goals for 2016. So with that, so again, these are sort of selected 4 areas: financial, specifically rent collection, work orders, when we talk about emergencies, maintenance, and skilled trades, vacancies, turnaround time, and occupancy rates, customer satisfaction, and with our customer relationships. On rent collection, for the month of November, we have found that compared to 2014, where we collected $73.8 million in that period, there's $79.4 million, a $5.6 million delta to the positive. There's also a slight increase in terms of the percentage of collection for this period. Moving forward, we'll be looking at continuing training between our property managers and the legal department to ensure that there's a recognition of what their authorities are, as well as looking at continuing to refine our metrics as a management tool. On the work order overview, it continues to grow, as you see. Again, the indicators around this are around, I think, more accurate inspections and more thorough review, actually looking at what the actual work orders required to be done on our site. This becomes a major goal for 2016. To look at our business processes and to look at higher productivity to start to get this trending moving in the other direction. Emergency work orders, we are now back to an 18.3. It's trending back down. A reminder that spike that was in October was based on including exterior lighting as a category to our emergency work orders. That has been now incorporated, and it is starting to trend back down. As you can see, though, we're still within our 24-hour commitment at our goal for responding or abating emergencies within 24 hours. On the maintenance work orders, for the service level time, it's a slight increase from October to November. Some of the rationale behind that are there were 3 holidays in November that pulled staffing away from getting the work orders done. And November was a very busy period for us in responding to the HUD public housing assessment inspections. We actually, and the corresponding work that had to be done for our FAS inspections for October, between October and November. On skilled trades, this is again an area that is deeply concerning to us, and particularly to the chair, and something that we're looking to do a very deep dive into in terms of our overall organization, the planning and the logistics around how we provide skilled trade responses to residents' needs. It's one in which we think that we will be looking at pretty dramatic efforts to improve this category. On apartment turnaround time, some of the continued improvements, 2014 to 2015 for November, so there was 69.5 days for apartment turnaround time a year ago. It's 53.3 days as of November. That's about a 17-day reduction in the response time. There's clearly still need for improvement around that, and the improvement continues to be looking at the relationship between the work that's done on our maintenance crew and the actual leasing up that happens on our property management crew. So we think there's an opportunity to reduce this even more. On customer satisfaction for November, we received, we put out 2,163 calls. 2001 residents responded to those calls. Those that responded, if they were fair to good in terms of the work, about 3,554. That's about a 77.7% response saying that the work was favorable or good. It does, though, bring up to 23% of our residents that feel that the work could be improved upon. So we'll continue to look at this as an important indicator. At this point, I'd like to maybe turn to our brand new NYCHA development portal. There's going to be some time it's going to take us to pull this together. So now might be a good time for questions on the first part of the report.
Yep.
While this is getting teed up, I just want to maybe give some overview observations or comments about this. We're calling it my NYCHA development. It's really looking at having a online tool that you can actually just scroll down, pick any site there is in our inventory, and Bob will be doing the demonstration in a moment. And from that tool, we'll be able to have in real time show the demographics, the mapping, emergency response activities, et cetera. So it's a 24/7, anytime, anywhere, access on any device, development-specific information tool. We're looking to improve communications with our residents, providing a platform and increasing resident engagement, reducing calls to the centralized call center. A lot of times we get calls about just what general information that folks can get directly from the website. And I think most importantly, looking to provide progress toward our NYCHA goals of increasing transparency and creating safe, clean, and connected communities. So, are you ready?
Sure. So let's talk about some key features of the new website. You'll be able to see development information and demographics. You'll be able to see current outages and work order metrics. You'll see family services programs for your development, opportunities from the REASE programs, and emergency preparedness information. So let's go through a little demo of the system. So this is the landing page for the NYCHA development portal. We'll select the development down here. You just type the name in, or you can take from the list. So I'm going to take Butler. So this is specific information on Butler. There's a little bit of history about Butler, how it was created, and information about that. But also on the landing page for Butler, it shows any outages that are available. Right now, there's a compactor outage, and it is in progress at this address. On this tab, we have development data about Butler. It gives us some information on the total number of apartments, the population, the number of buildings, the square footage. And then we have a demographics tab here, which shows us information about total population and percentage, and also household compositions. And then we have sources of income for this development. And then we have an interactive map of this development with the development outlined in red. And it's pretty sharp stuff, right? Nice technology. I'm very proud of it. Done by an internal team here, along with DOC and with research. This is our work order outage page for this development. So this tells you your open work orders currently, and also our current service levels for this development. We have a family services tab for Butler, which shows you programs available within that development. So this is within that development, at that address, this is available, and then citywide family service programs, and then numbers for the borough-wide family services department. We have a tab for Opportunity NYCHA, and this is going to be our landing page for REASE. We're going to expand this in the coming months, but right now we just have a place and a hotline for REASE, and we also have a link to our Opportunity NYCHA website, which gives us more information on REASE and upcoming events in REASE. And then we have a link for emergency preparedness. And this gives us an interactive map showing us the hurricane zone and what zone your development is in. Luckily, Butler's in zone 6, green, so they're pretty safe in case of a hurricane. We also have links to how to prepare for an emergency. and other links to other pertinent information about emergencies. So that's the site right now. We're going to launch it this week, and we have some enhancements that we'll be working on over the next couple of months. We're going to put capital projects out there by development. We want to also list and identify evacuation centers and shelters for the developments. We want to provide resident engagement information like tenant association information and activities that are going to be happening at that development. And also we want to have some more graphics and charts and pie charts about relevant information about that development.
My question is more so the previous app where you can put in your own work tickets.
Yeah.
We had a discussion about a particular issue that app has. And so I was wondering if you can give me an update or give the board an update with regards to when it's not the apartment, and it's in a general area, it doesn't allow us to move forward. We still have to call the CCC.
Yeah, the app was first developed with the idea of just for apartment specific tickets. But that's on our enhancement list for 2016.
Okay.
We'll be able to put public space tickets in that also. So that's on the enhancement list along with the Spanish version of it, along with a bunch of other stuff that we have planned, surveys and other things that will be coming up. And you can see that in 2016, first and second quarter.
Thank you.
Chair, that completes the report of the general manager.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bob.
Can I just take him back for a minute? When you said about the skilled trades, that's an area of interest to me. Talking about technology, how can we marry technology with the skilled trades so that we don't have a lot of wasted time? You know, I see the skilled trades, they can go in an apartment, it might take 2 hours worth of work, but they're going to do 4 hours worth of work because they're going to make overtime. So if you have those technology devices where they can clock in and they can clock out and they can be tracked, like when they come to my house for telephone repair or Verizon or something, they have devices where they have to account for their time. And I think we need to use that kind of technology with our skilled trades. We'll get greater productivity and less overtime.
I know the chair is smiling because that is something that really is, I think, one of the most exciting things we'll be looking forward to 2016 goals around operations. I'll use this just for prop purposes. To your point, that we will be having a tool like this or a small helipad available for our maintenance and skilled trade folks to be able to, in real time, do the scheduling, look at the dispatching, and look at allocating their work in a way that makes a lot more sense. So it's something I think in terms of, we're in pilot now. I think that we're looking for a presentation to the board probably in the February meeting.
Okay.
And with
This gentleman says we have to work smarter.
Absolutely.
That was his quote at the last Q&A meeting.
So I think that using technology is going to be really critical to addressing not only your issue, but a lot of things. But I think it's also really important to note that we also have to change the way we do our work. And so it's more than just giving people a device. It's about changing, long built up policies and practices that have to be
procedures.
right. And also really looking at how, certain things are impediments to improved quality. So, we also, this is an investment, right? These are resources, et cetera. So before we, hand out every sort of, devices, we are also looking at the policies and procedures and process of how work gets done. So, and I'm a little bit of a broken record right now, but that will continue to be my sort of rallying cry is that we have to change the way we do our business, not just give people, handhelds and still do the work the same way that they've been doing it.
So then when you give them the policies and procedures, this is the way that you need to be operating. You also have to give them training that goes with that. So they will understand what their job description is and how they're supposed to perform it. And then you give them the technology.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, let's move to our
Proceed to
calendar.
today's calendar.
Thank you,
Item number one.
Morano. Thank you, GM.
Good morning, Richard Couch, Chief Financial Officer. I'll be presenting items 1 through 4. Item number 1, requesting authorization to award the authority's excess workers' compensation insurance program policy, including employers' liability insurance coverage, to ACE American Insurance Company for a 1-year policy term commencing on January 1st, 2016 and continuing through December 31st, 2016 at a premium cost of $1,573,841. This represents no increase from the expiring program. Federal regulations require the authority to maintain workers' compensation and employers' liability insurance coverage as a condition for receiving federal funds. The authority has been a qualified self-insurer for workers' compensation since 1995 and has purchased excess workers' comp, and including employers' liability insurance, to limit its catastrophic claim expense as a self-insurer, and has self-funded a portion of related insurance costs. As a requisite of self-insuring, the authority utilizes the service of a third-party claims administrator to assist with adjusting the authority's workers' comp claims. With that, I request authorization to award the excess workers' compensation insurance policy, including employers' liability insurance, to ACE American Insurance Company.
No.
Thank you. Item number 2, authorization requested for the approval of investment transactions that were performed by the authority's Treasury Department for the quarter ended September 30th, 2015. The report outlines the authority's cash and investment position and provides a brief overview of operational changes and cash flow affecting the change in investments, and provides current and historical rates of return on authority investments at a measure of investment performance. We closed out the third quarter with a net portfolio decrease of $200,547,592 from the prior quarter. The executive summary portion of the report outlines the major categories of cash flow affecting the change in investments during this quarter. We thus ended the quarter with an investment portfolio of $1,240,635,597, excluding fiscal age investments. Thank you. Item number 3, requesting authorization to approve the authority's 5-year capital plan for calendar years 2016 through 2020. The authority's 5-year capital plan provides $5,567,944,812 for planned commitments for infrastructure improvements, major modernization, and other systemic upgrades. Major initiatives included in the plan are $3,084,670,000 for disaster recovery efforts related to Superstorm Sandy, specifically for repair and resiliency of 35 affected developments. Also consistent with prior plans, the authority has prioritized the allocation of its limited resources to maintain housing stock, improve resident service levels, invest in safety and security, and comply with applicable federal, state, and city requirements. These include $1.1 billion for brickwork and roofs, $244 million for interiors, $173 million for heating and plumbing upgrades, $43 million for environmental projects, $41 million for information technology projects, and $33 million for replacement of ranges and refrigerators. With that, I request authorization to approve the authority's 5-year capital plan for $5,467,954,812. And finally, item number 4, requesting authorization to approve the authority's 5-year operating plan for calendar years 2016 through 2020. The 5-year operating plan projects the cash basis revenues and expenditures for the authority and delineates operating budgets and authorized headcount by development and department. For 2015, the plan authorizes total spending of $3,379,966,000 and a total headcount of 11,052. The estimated deficit is $59,974,000. The authority's operating plan is comprised of 3 separate funds. The general fund supports the authority's public housing program and administration. The Housing Choice Voucher Program supports the Section 8 leased housing program. Federal funding and reserves are maintained by the housing assistance payments and administrative costs. Housing assistance payments or administrative deficits are funded from the designated reserve maintained in accordance with HUD requirements. And finally, the categorical grant fund supports various community development programs funded from a variety of federal, state, city, and private sources. With that, I request authorization to approve the authority's 5-year plan. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board, General Manager Kelly. My name is Jeffrey Pagelson, Controller. I'm presenting item number 5 on behalf of Barbara Turkowitz, the Director of the Audit Department. Item number 5, we are seeking authorization to enter into an agreement with Deloitte & Touche LLP for a single audit of the authority's operations for the year ending December 31st, 2015, commencing on January 4th, 2016, and continuing through January 3rd, 2017, or commencing on such date other date as may be determined by the general manager or his designee. The contract or the agreement would be for 3 1-year, would also include 3-year, 1-year renewal options to be exercised at the authority's sole discretion. The total value of the contract is not to exceed $2,715,000 and $215,395, which is 91% of the $2,983,000 cost estimate. Audit objectives are to render an opinion on NYCHA's consolidated financial statements, evaluate accounting and administrative internal control effectiveness, determine whether NYCHA has complied with federal laws, rules, and regulations, and also determining whether NYCHA is in compliance with all applicable contracts and grant agreements. There is also a requirement to follow up on prior year's audit findings and recommendations. Also to determine whether NYCHA has complied with general and specific requirements applicable to major federal financial assistance programs. And also there's the ability to conduct special audits as requested by the audit committee as part of additional auditing services. Specific reports that will be provided by Deloitte & Touche under this agreement are an audit opinion on NYCHA's consolidated financial statements, a single audit report, standalone opinions on standalone financial statements for NYCHA Public Housing Preservation LLC 1, NYCHA Public Housing Preservation LLC 2, and examinations of modern and development cost certificates, as well as a management comment letter, which will be separately bound. The agreement also calls for training of NYCHA's financial staff, mid-level operational managers, as well as directors and executive level management. Deloitte was selected as part of through an RFP process. There were 15 bid packages distributed, 8 firms attended a proposers conference, and 6 bid packages were received. An evaluation with a committee of 7 members was established to evaluate the proposals. The scoring system was developed, and Deloitte & Touche received the highest score. So with that, we're requesting authorization to enter into the agreement with Deloitte & Touche. Any questions?
This is our internal audit, and we have the outside that we get from Scott Stringer, but this is our internal. So when they do the audit, they give you their findings, and then you can make corrections.
Right, so technically, this is an audit by external independent audit firm. This is an external independent audit firm. It's separate and apart than the Scott Stringer audits. Within NYCHA, we have an internal audit function, so this is separate than that. But in evaluating and looking at our compliance, they consider our ability to do internal audits and the effectiveness of those internal audits. It's all part of our internal control structure, which is evaluated and coming up with things like those comment letters and the recommendations to management.
Okay.
Very good. Chair had to step out. I guess we're on item 6.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Luis Ponce, Senior Vice President of Operations for Support Services. I'll be presenting item number 6, which seeks to increase the not to exceed amount of the Manhattan requirement contract for New York Boiler Incorporated for boiler welding and repair services by 50%, as permitted by the original requirement contract, which was authorized by a previous board resolution. This is to fund the continued provisions of the services during the remainder of the initial 2-year term, which is continuing through March 5th of 2016. The scope of the work includes furnishing all labor, supervision, materials, scaffolding, and equipment to perform boiler and hot water tank repairs. This contract is administered by the heating department. This increase is necessary to permit the repair of the authority's heating systems to continue uninterrupted while the authority completes award of the new requirement contract. The replacement contract was bid on December 1st, 2015, and is currently undergoing the award process. The increase requested is $455,733.20. New York Boiler has satisfactorily completed approximately $8.4 million worth of boiler welding and repair services for the authority over the last 5 years. Respectfully request authorization. Any question? Thank you.
Number seven. Number seven.
Good morning. I'm David Farber, General Counsel and Acting Chief Administrative Officer. We are seeking authorization to amend a memorandum of understanding between NYCHA and the City University of New York for student customer information representatives working at the customer call center. The MOU did not require initial board approval, but it was subsequently amended by board resolution for 2015 to increase the amount of the MOU, and we are now seeking authorization to fund the second 1-year renewal option for the continued provision of services for the calendar year 2016. These are students, CUNY students who work at the call center to supplement the existing staff. We are projecting about 3.7 million calls received at the call center in 2015 to illustrate the need for as large a staff as possible. Thank you.
I understand it, but I think the gentleman who raised the question earlier was concerned as to what was the memorandum of understanding. We use students to supplement the call center, and they get a stipend for their work. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, that's a good thing.
Yes, we agree. Thank you.
Great.
Good morning. I'm Bob Morano, NYCHA's Chief Information Officer. I'd like to speak about board items 8 and 9 together. Items 8 and 9 are requesting authorization to amend agreements with IT Incorporated and Trigen Technologies Incorporated. These two temporary worker agreements were originally authorized by the board in 2013. They were originally a 1-year term with an option to extend 4 more years. NYCHA uses these contracts for as-needed recruitment of temporary workers when specific skill sets are required and existing staff cannot perform the work. These amendments will provide funding in 2016 for critical next-gen NYCHA initiatives such as mobile handheld solutions for maintenance workers, inspectors, and the skilled trades, conversion of paper files to electronic folders for the Human Resources Department, deploying an inventory system at the developments, online public housing annual recertifications, online reasonable accommodation requests, and online transfer requests, as well as ongoing support for critical systems like Maximo, Siebel, and Oracle Financials. Therefore, we're requesting authorization in item 8 to amend the agreement with IIT and in item 9 to amend the agreement with Trigen Technologies.
No.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Michael Rosen, Vice President for Disaster Recovery and Acting Executive Vice President for Capital Projects. I'll be presenting items 10 through 37. Item 10, request authorization to award a requirements contract for exterior restoration at various developments to PK Contracting Incorporated for the amount of $18,197,737. This is local law 11 exterior restoration work. The PK Contracting is a minority-owned business, has been in operation since 2002. They've performed one project for NYCHA as prime contractor, valued at $17.4 million. VNC was issued on 10/29 and found no issues to preclude award. Item number 11, authorization is requested to award a requirements contract for replacement of underground piping to Scontzos Plumbing and Heating Corporation in the amount of $10,428,907.03. The scope of the work is to replace underground piping, including water lines, fire lines, and sewer lines on an as-needed basis at various developments citywide. The scope includes the installation of valves for fire, water, and sewer lines, asbestos abatement, excavation, and the removal of restoration of asphalt walkways. Removal and restoration of asphalt walkways. Scontzos has been in operation since 1987. They performed 8 projects as prime contractor for NYCHA, valued at $8.1 million. VNC was issued on 11/13 and found no issues to preclude award. Item number 12, request authorization to award a contract for replacement of underground piping citywide to JCC Construction Corp. in the amount of $9,197,012.93. The scope is precisely the same as the previous item. JCC has been in operation since 1990. They've performed 3 projects as NYCHA prime contractor, valued at $3.1 million. VNC was requested on 10/6 and is pending. No contract will be issued until the VNC is complete. Item number 13, authorization is requested to award a contract for restoration associated with the Sandy Recovery Program at Ocean Bay Apartments Oceanside to Navalis Tile Incorporated, doing business as Navalis Contracting, in the amount of $53,900,000. I'd like to point out this is the first permanent Sandy Recovery contract being brought to the board. And as the chair said in the video earlier, this is the real phase, the second important phase of the Sandy recovery. To date, we have done cleanup, we have done emergency repairs, and we have done temporary repairs. This is the beginning of the full permanent recovery. The scope of the work at Oceanside consists of 7 buildings with 418 apartments. This contract provides for the restoration for all 7 buildings. The scope of the work includes the installation of standby gas generators, that's backup power, at each of the buildings with new electrical service, new electrical rooms, and equipment relocated above the flood levels, flood walls to prevent future storm damage, new mechanical equipment, including water heaters and pumps, new interior finishes, doors, hardware, concrete stairs, flood barriers, and partitions in affected areas. Navalis has been in operation since 1987. They performed 4 projects as prime contractor for NYCHA, valued at $68 million, and 16 projects as subcontractor, valued at over $151 million. VNC issued on 8/20 found no issues to preclude award. The OIG extended the VNC approval period through 12/31/15. Items number 14 through 20 request the authorization to award 7 job contracts, that's job order contracts, at various developments citywide. NYCHA, this is also associated with the Sandy Recovery Program. NYCHA competitively bid 15 separate job order contracts to address work related to Sandy recovery program. The JOC contracts were designed by trade and based on geographic area. The scope of the work includes, but it's not limited to, hazardous materials, the removal and disposal, electrical lighting, conduit, conductors, cables, and controls, heating, ventilating, and HVAC systems, general construction, and plumbing. 7 of the 15 we're requesting award for 7 of these contracts. These contracts are based on a bid factor, and Capital Projects has determined what the bid factor should be and what would be excessive. The bid factor is essentially the contract is overhead and profit, excuse me. So I'd like to take you through. So what NYCHA has determined is that a bid factor, excuse me one second, a bid factor exceeding 1.28 would be excessive for this type of work. So we reviewed each contract, each proposal separately. We're recommending award of 7, and I'll take you through them very quickly. Item number 14 is a recommendation to award to New York Environmental Systems Incorporated. Their bid factor was 1.25, which falls within the acceptable amount. Item number 15 is, and that's for $3 million. Item number 15 is for Mac Fiongale and Sons Electrical Contracting. Their bid factor was 1.28, acceptable, and this is for $21 million. Item number 16 is for AWL Incorporated. Their bid factor was 1.225 for $5.1 million. Item number 17 is also AWL Industries. Their bid factor again was 1.225 for $5.1 million. And item number 18, AWL again, 1.1848 was the bid factor, $5.1 million. Item number 19 and 20 are for Richards Plumbing and Heating Incorporated. Both were a bid factor of 1.24. Both are for $3 million. We recommend authorization to award those 7 JOC contracts. Items number 21 through 28 are the remaining contracts that we are rejecting the bids. All of those were above the bid factor that we found acceptable for this type of work, or it may have been below the bid factor, but that specific company had other contracts that we just described in items 14 through 20, and we didn't feel that they had the capacity to take on more. Yes, Chair.
So I appreciate the diligence around establishing a bid factor. Is there some sort of industry best practice here that we are measuring ourselves to, and if so, how do we compare?
So the work varies greatly on these type of contracts. They're very specific for the type of work. There are best practices. There are industry standards which we've considered. We also take into consideration if there are any unique factors in these contracts having to do with the geographic area that's been spread, or how certain we are that we will be awarding this work, because that's part of the risk factor that a contractor takes into account when they bid on something like this, because it's possible that they won't get any of this work. So that's included as well, and we take that into account.
So I appreciate that. I guess my question is more about the bid factor. Is that 1.18 to 2.78? Is that sort of representative of what other outside public authorities use in determining, sort of overhead and profit? Again, I think it's a really good measure. Yep. Just wondering if that's
that's true, as well as our own history and experience.
So based on history and experience, we think that that's an acceptable range.
Correct. So items 21 through 28 we're requesting to reject. I'm sorry?
No, you said reject.
Okay. 21 and 22 were the low bidder was Champion Electrical Mechanical. They were the lowest bidder, but their bid factor exceeded our standards. Items 23 and 24, McFeegal was the lowest bidder. However, we gave them a large contract. We didn't feel that they had the capacity to do additional work. Item 25, AWL was the sole bidder on this. They were within the range, but again, we've recommended awarding 3 contracts to them already. Items number 26 and 27, AWL was also the lowest bidder. So the capacity issue was there. The second lowest bidder failed to submit required bid bonds and were deemed non-responsive. The third lowest bidder exceeded our requirements for the bid factor. So we're rejecting those. Item number 28, Richards Plumbing and Heating, received we're recommending 2 awards already. So based on capacity, we're asking to reject those as well. Any questions? Item number 29 was requesting to amend an agreement for A&E services for Hurricane Sandy Resiliency and Renewal Program at Red Hook East and West with Con Peterson Fox Associates PC. The increase is in the amount of $13,553,800. The scope of the original agreement included preparing feasibility studies and conceptual design that would allow us to evaluate other opportunities to improve the overall long-term sustainability of the sites and resistance to future storms. In order to implement the options that we are selecting from those feasibility studies, we are requesting an increased capacity in the amount of $13,553,800 to cover the cost of the additional designs. I will point out that the cost of the design is covered by FEMA funding.
Is this a not to exceed contract?
Yes, it is.
So where are they in their contract? What percentage of this represents their total contract?
Well, the original contract value was for $6,627,000, of which I believe they're approximately 40% through.
Okay.
Item number 30, we respectfully ask to withdraw this item. We will address a few issues and bring it back to the next board meeting.
Could you just speak to, it I know it was raised earlier, there's a city law that requires this as well as HUD. Can you just talk?
Yeah, so this is for, this item was for our architectural and engineer physical needs assessment and energy audit services. We're required every 5 years to do a full physical needs assessment of our buildings. This, as the chair said, it is required by law. We will be back in next month to bring this to the calendar, and we'll complete this within the time frame required.
It's both city law and a HUD requirement.
Yes. Items number 31 through 33, request authorization to ratify the award of 3 emergency contracts. These are the final 3 contracts related to the 391 buildings that had unsafe conditions and required shedding to be put up to protect the public. At the previous 2 board meetings, we have brought a number of contracts. These are the final 3. This was to Parsons Construction Corporation. All 3 contracts are for the amount of each one is for the amount of $6,249,750 for a total value of $18,749,250. This was to provide emergency sidewalk sheds at 80 buildings at 30 developments to ensure the safety of the public. Due to the emergency nature of this work, on 9/9, we issued notices to proceed without a VNC. We received the VNC on 9/29, which cited several inconsistencies. As a result, we stopped Parsons from completing the work when we received that VNC. They had completed 71 of the 80 buildings without incident. We took the remaining 9 buildings and awarded those to another vendor, Nealon Construction. They did complete the work on 71 of 80 buildings, like I said, without incident. In order to pay them for the work that they've completed, we are bringing these 3 contracts for approval.
Just remind everyone, what's the source of funds for this work again?
The funding for this has come through this New York City. Item number 34, request authorization for the ratification of a change order at Throgs Neck Addition for site lighting to Smalls Electrical Construction Company in the amount of $92,602.07. The original contract value was $716,128.83. The reason for this change order is to cover the cost for additional quantities of electrical conduit work, excavation, and asphalt paving. This was discovered, the additional work was actually discovered during the closeout, the contract closeout. It was discovered that additional quantities of work were performed in excess of the contract quantities. We reviewed, as a review of the work at the site, it was determined that the work was in fact necessary. We're requesting authorization to approve this change order to pay for the work that was performed. Item number 35, request authorization for a change order at Sumner Houses. This is for roofing replacement, masonry repair, or the original contract is for roofing replacement, masonry repair, and related work. The contract is with Pro Metal Construction Incorporated, and the amount is $200,922.47. The original scope of work included roof replacement, masonry related to correct local law 11 facade conditions at all 13 buildings, and in addition, the community center and childcare facility. Following the completion of the work on the new roofs, it was determined that the reattachment of the existing bulkhead light fixtures would negatively affect the new roofing system. Therefore, contract specification was modified to include the installation of new LED light fixtures. CPD is requesting the authorization of the board to approve this change order, as I said, in the amount of $200,922.47 to cover the cost of the additional new LED light fixtures. If approved, this work will be completed by June of 2016. Items number 36 and 37, requesting an amended contract number and an increase for 2 contracts with Community Electric Incorporated. Pursuant to board contracts were awarded to the sole bidder, Community Electric Incorporated, for electrical repairs at various developments citywide. Following the board approval in May of 2015, CPD learned that the contract numbers indicated on the approved board resolutions were canceled in our financial system, Oracle, and new contractors were assigned and generated. For that reason, we're asking to come back and amend the original contract numbers to be changed to the new contract numbers. And one of the questions the chair had at the last board meeting was, were any funds expended under the original? So that's the first part, is to amend the contract numbers. The second part is an authorization to increase each contract by $1 million. This contract is for Sandy recovery electrical repairs. This money will be used this contract will be used as needed to do emergency repairs while the permanent construction is taking place.
Very good.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Take a deep
That's
breath.
enough.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the follow-up as well.
Chair, just for the record, before I introduce a motion to accept the items, I note that you stepped out of the room for items 5 through 10, and I want to make sure that you are in agreement with those
Yes.
items. Thank you.
Mhm.
With that said, Can I have a motion to accept 36 of the 37 items that were approved, recognizing that item number 30 has been withdrawn? Motion,
Second.
all in favor? Motion to adjourn,
Motion.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and happy holidays to you and your family. Let's wish for a peaceful, healthy
Enjoy.
2016. Thank you.
Happy holidays. Louis, Mr. Ponce, I have a minute.